The US women's national team are the best team in the history of international women's football. They've won 4 of the total World Cups, 91, 99, 2015 and 2019. This is how they can make history at the 2023 World Cup. If the US women's national team win the 2023 World Cup, they will become the first team, men's or women's, to win 3 consecutive World Cup trophies. That is how they can make history. So, can they do it? Well, let's start by looking at how they won the 2019 edition. This is the team that started the 2019 World Cup final, a 2-0 win over Sarina Wiegman's Netherlands side. Your eye, I think, is immediately drawn to this front 3 of Megan Rapinoe, Alex Morgan and Tobin Heath. Now, Megan Rapinoe and Tobin Heath are 2 players who love to get forward, to take players on 1v1 and to really get in the box and be that goal threat. Now, the US also had Sam Mewis and Rose Lavelle coming up and picking these half spaces to create this really attacking front 5 for the US. Obviously, this is a really attacking way of playing, so you've got to make sure you protect yourself at the back. The way the US decided to do that was to invert Kelly O'Hara and Crystal Dunn. And now this worked really well, especially because Dunn actually plays as a midfielder for her club side anyway. Meanwhile, Julie Ertz is a defensive destroyer, more than capable of covering the ground and making the tackles to make up for the fact that the US were willing to push all of these other players forward. But 4 years has passed, and quite a lot of things have changed for this US women's national team. First up, manager Jill Ellis, who led them to that 2019 title, she moved on and Vlatko Andonovski's in charge. Secondly, some players have just got older, so there's no Megan Rapinoe in terms of starting. Tobin Heath, she's injured. Sam Mewis, she's injured too. And Rose Lavelle hasn't played since April, but she is in the squad. Julie Ertz, meanwhile, she had a knee injury and then took some time off to have a child, so she has been playing recently, but she had 18 months out of football. Kelly O'Hara will be part of the squad, but probably won't start. Abby Dahlkemper has a long-term injury, and captain Becky Sauerbrunn also injured. So that leaves us with 3 players from that 2019 World Cup final who we expect to see start in 2023. Alyssa Naeher, Crystal Dunn, and Alex Morgan. As we can see, all 3 of those players featured in the US's last warm-up game before the World Cup, a 2-0 win over Wales. But we can also see here some of the changes that have taken place. Now, Alyssa Naeher, World Cup winning goalkeeper, is maybe actually one of the main concerns within this team. She's conceded 41 goals in 16 games this season, and it feels like maybe her confidence is understandably a little bit low. Ahead of her, you've got Naomi Girma and Alana Cook, both of whom are very, very good centre-backs, but neither of whom have really played together a whole chunk because Becky Sauerbrunn has been so essential to the US's defence. So how quickly those 2 can form a relationship that will allow them to play against top teams could be crucial to how well the US do in this tournament. Midfield is potentially where we might see the most change from the US. Andy Sullivan will probably not start in favour of Julie Ertz, while Ashley Sanchez will also be likely replaced by Rose Lavelle, providing she's fit. Now, up front is probably the most exciting element of this US team. Alex Morgan will continue in her role as a central striker, but the US also have Sophia Smith. Now, Smith plays as a striker for her club, the Portland Thorns, but she can also play on the left and the right, and is probably one of the most exciting young players who's going to be at the World Cup. She's scoring for fun, she loves to run at defenders, and basically she can do pretty much whatever the US need her to do in an attacking sense. Now, Alyssa Thompson, she was the real surprise starter in this game. She's only 18 years old, the youngest player in this US women's national team squad, and is someone who's really taken the NWSL by storm since she signed for Angel City. But if Thompson doesn't start, there are plenty of other options here for the US. They've got Trinity Rodman, who helped the Washington Spirit win the NWSL championship when she was just 18 years old, lightning quick. They've got Lynn Williams, going to her first World Cup at 30, and again, can't stop scoring in the league at the moment. And they do, of course, have still Megan Rapinoe. Probably not someone we're going to see have a load of minutes, but definitely worth bringing off the bench if you think a penalty shootout is looming. But whichever way you cut it, that front 3 is going to be one of the most exciting attacking trios at the tournament, and could be enough to carry them through to the latter stages of the competition, regardless of concerns about their defence or their midfield. This is the way I expect the US women's national team to line up throughout the tournament. Trinity Rodman on the right, with Sophia Smith on the left as the key decisions in that attacking trio. but obviously there's a new manager in charge, and that might change the way that the US look as they play on the pitch. Key to that will be the choice of Sophia Smith as that left winger. Now, as we said, Smith likes to play as a centre forward, and for that reason, instead of having her cut round the outside, you'll probably see her cut inside more and maybe form a front two even with Alex Morgan. This opens a lot of space on the left, and I expect we'll see Crystal Dunn looking to play along the touchline rather than having her invert like we saw in 2019. This is also supported by the inclusion of Lindsay Horan. Now, Horan is a very all-action midfielder. Sam Mewis was similar, but Horan really likes to get stuck in. So I think we'll see her supporting Julia Ertzmoor and covering for Dunn's moves further up the pitch. That probably means as well that we'll see Rose Lavelle move into a more traditional 10 position rather than taking up those half spaces that we saw in 2019. On top of all that, the US also have something slightly favourable in their corner. It's the draw. So the US are over here in Group E. They do have a tough match in the group against the Netherlands. That's actually the rerun of the 2019 final. But assuming they do top the group, which I think is likely, from there on, it seems to be pretty smooth sailing for them. So we'll see them here facing the runners-up of Group G, likely to be Italy, maybe Argentina. From there, if they win that match, we'll see them playing potentially Norway or Japan. And it's not until they reach the semi-final that we'd expect them to play another top 10 team. Could be Spain, could be Sweden. That's very different if you're on the other side of the draw, and it means potentially if the US were to make it to the final, they could have played quite an easy set of games to get there and be facing up to a team who's already played 3 tricky knockout games. Every time a World Cup comes around, we see that the media line tends to be that the rest of the world are finally catching up with the US. And maybe that's true. But as we've seen, despite all the changes even over the past 4 years, this US women's national team has a lot of talent in it, and they will feel like they can beat anyone else on their day. And that is how the US women's national team could make history.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is home to some of the world's best sports journalists, including journalists dedicated to each Premier League team, so every fan gets the coverage they deserve, not just the big clubs. And you can try it for free now for 30 days. See the link in the description.